What's going on, guys? This is Kaisho. Welcome back. So we are back with another video. So in this video we're going to cover OCG metagame tier list post Suda or Supreme Darkness that was recently released last week, and we are also going to cover post YCSJ Osaka 2024. So we are going to cover the metagame after the biggest event in Japan. Although it is BO1 or best of 1, it still reflects the impact of Suda in the overall landscape of the meta. And also, we are going to cover a bunch of decks here that is placed under a specific tier, and we're going to discuss each deck and explain why they are here on that tier. So without further ado, let's start. So starting off first, we do have D tier. We do have Buster Blader Dragon Link. So this deck is very successful on smaller scale tournaments, and also it got some representations on YCSJ when X2 both players played the deck and got a pretty successful run with 6-2 record and another one with 7-2. So I think the Buster Blader Dragon Link is a phenomenal deck to play in some small local events, and also can be a really threatening deck to answer the best decks available. And on top of that, you're able to stun the opponents from the Buster Lock. Imagine that setting up the Buster Dragon with the Buster Blader Fusion paired with the Hieratic Seals, for example, from your rocket engine on the deck from the Dragon Link. So you're able to dish out a bunch of interruptions and also a way to stun your opponent. So it is a really powerful deck when going first, and your hand trap and staple space on the deck is also not suffered enough because you have a lot of rooms to cater because the Buster engine is very few, and you just need to play the Tracer, the standard rocket cards for the Dragon Link to be able to make something like things like Hieratic Seals, for example, no, or just Little Night Pass. So this could be very interesting whether they can still hold their place on the following weeks, because Buster Blader used to be a tier 4 deck last 2 formats ago, I believe. So now they are back and they can probably be a thing if people will invest. And next would be Branded. So Branded, very solid deck. I cannot really comprehend why people are still doubting the Branded. I think Branded has been a proven and tested deck for 3 years already, since 2021, since Dawn of Majesty. The Branded is already a thing in the meta, and they are bombarded with a plethora of supports, and even the previous Branded storyline binder, it also included a new support for Branded. So it seems like the Konami doesn't have any plans to stop the barrage of supports for the Branded. We cannot blame them because it is very marketable, and the Ecclesia, the Albaz, and all of those lore have been very impactful storyline towards the modern game. So I think Branded as a whole is very innovative. You could play it 40 with more bestials, and also you could play it 50 sometimes with more hand traps, and the more popular choice would be playing Azamina on it with a 60 card variant with 3 trust, 3 talent, and a bunch of board breakers like Droplet and Cooler No More and Evenly Match. So yeah, I think Branded will be here, and no matter what happens, I think Branded is still a very feasible deck to play. And next would be Crystron, very interesting deck. It is quite new to us, no? Considering that they have gotten new support and people have now picking up the deck 2 weeks later from the Suda. And I believe it is marginally successful in a sense that people are playing the deck and they are getting results from it. But I cannot really make a bold statement that Crystron is a defined meta deck right now. I just think that people are still figuring out things for this deck, whether for the positive or the negative side. They are trying to calibrate the deck. They are making the standard list for Crystron, and people are still trying to know how to stop the deck and what are the choke points and integral parts of the deck. So I don't think it will last long here on this tier list, but it is very promising. I think it is one of the most promising decks out there. And I think if people can develop a very standard list for this deck and be able to play through the metagame with the proper side board and tech options, I think they can perform really well. But for now, it is very early to say that Crystron is a defined meta deck. But for now, they rank on D tier. Next would be Unchained Fiendsmith. So this deck is also really popular on some parts of Korea and also Southeast Asian regions, like us in the Philippines. I think this deck was patronized by people who have bought the Yubel engine and the Fiend variants, and Yubel Fiendsmith was severely hit from the previous ban list, so now they are resorting towards the Unchained Fiendsmith. But it is still a very good deck, even though it is not as strong as the Yubel Fiendsmith from before. I think it is still a very capable deck on topping tournaments, and I think the deck can perform on prolonged tournaments because people have been targeting the Ryzel, the Malice, the Snake Eyes, the Blue Eyes, the Runic. All of those decks are subjected for counters, but decks like Unchained Fiendsmith with floating effects, graveyard pop effects, I think this deck is really in a good spot because most people wouldn't really even dare to contest it, and people have been dropping the shifter for the meta right now because Ryzel and Malice can both play around shifter effectively, so you don't have that much worries on shifter when you're playing Unchained right now. Next would be Tenpai Dragon. This is a fall from grace. They used to be the most represented deck in the overall OCG. I think it used to be a tier 1 deck, the S tier, the A tier, high A tier deck. I think Tenpai Dragon had it all previously, but now things are changing, cards are evolving, and decks are also evolving. So it is like the sign of the times that Tenpai Dragon are now settling for a low placement on this tier list because other decks just got so much better. They have gotten plethora of supports. Other decks are just flat out better. Malice, Ryzil, more consistent, more adaptive, and also more congruent to be played on this environment. So even though I think Tenpai Dragon is still very powerful on the hands of right pilot and also on some very lucky days. I think Tenpai Dragon is probably high B tier if your luck plays out for this deck, no? Because when you draw 4 non-engines with 1 OTK starter, it is pretty much game over for everything. Because when you draw things like Foalos Maxi and you draw something like Ultimate Slayer Droplet, it is inevitable that you are going to break everyone's playthrough and you're going to stop them from playing the game from your barrage of hand traps, and also the board breakers will be pivotal on dealing with their boards. So Tenpai Dragon as a whole is still a very powerful deck, but right now there are just so much other options and better options to be played above Tenpai Dragon. But for now, they will settle on D tier, but I think they will still be higher on the following weeks because people will realize that Tenpai Dragon is the most spice deck in terms of going second, and there's not many decks here that can go second apart from Sky Striker. So yeah, they could probably pivot back towards Tenpai Dragon when things are more looking solidified or standardized in the meta. Next, moving on towards the C tier, we do have Whitewoods Azamina. So this deck was recently buffed from the set of Suda. They have gotten Whitewoods and Azamina support, and in result of that, the deck plummeted into the meta game. They used to be a rogue deck and a low D tier on some weeks, but now they are looking to be establishing their rapport or status as a competent deck, and also the Whitewoods and Azamina both got new support and it increased the ceiling of the deck, and they are both more resilient, and just so happens that they are both in the same lore or archetype, so you could just fit in together and mesh the two engines into a powerful deck. So Whitewoods Azamina or White Forest Azamina is one of the better investments that you could make in late 2024 because the lore of Snake Eyes, the Sinful Spoils lore, is not even finished yet. I believe we are still three-fourths or even one half of the lore. So they're still going to get plethora of supports. They're like the new branded in a sense that they're the flavor of the lore and storyline of the game right now. So expect that they're still going to have more supports, and there's a reason why Snake Eyes is still not even dead yet because Imagine that they have gotten a lot of hits from the ban list already, but with the help of the White Woods and Azumina and the newer cards from the archetype, they're able to make a justified deck. So I think it is still very okay to invest on these archetypes. And next would be Sky Striker. So Sky Striker as a deck is really powerful in a sense that it can go second and also can play first when they're playing as a Mina. So with those two approaches, it is very dicey to determine whether Sky Striker would go second or would just ramp up a very standard board of Shizuku and Azamina Omni Negate on their board. So yeah, it is dependent on the pilot whether they would play the Sky Striker more aggressively or more conservatively. But the scary thing about this deck is the skill level of the pilot determines what Sky Striker actually are in the format. If people, really skilled players, will pilot this deck, they're definitely going to newer heights and heights that people cannot even imagine with a 2018 deck. Imagine that. It's been like 6, 7 years already, and Sky Striker is still a thing in the OCG, no? So the longevity of the deck tells a story that it is not a deck that people should frown upon or be inconsiderate, because this deck have been proven and they are here to make a statement that they are still competent with the help of new supports and also new tech cards and staples, and they're also able to integrate some of the powerful engines right now like Azumina. So Sky Striker is wide open. I think it is one of the most interesting decks that you could look at right now in the format, and probably you could play it if you have confidence on playing such a very technical deck and very complex Sky Striker. And moving on next, we have Chimera Finsmith. So I am very excited for this deck because they have gotten the Aubao. And even though they don't really need Aubao on their board, that card is immense for the deck. You are able to be more resilient and also can branch out more plays when you have Aubao. And also the White Woods also benefited the deck. And you're able to play multitudes of engine like the Illusion Magician, the Finsmith, the Azamina, the White Forest. So you have a bunch of ways. Even though Beatrice was banned, I think this deck is still really powerful and very scary when you don't know how to navigate the matchup against the Chimera Finsmith. You are getting annihilated from this deck. I think it is one of the most hardest matchup when you don't know how to interrupt them or navigate their cards. So yeah, very rightful on the C tier. They could probably even go higher if people will play the deck more and skilled pilots will take the deck on large tournaments and large local events. Next would be Voices Voice. I think even though Voices Voice is a really solid deck, very resilient, very safe deck, and probably one of the most easiest decks that you can play in 2024, I do think that that is the reason why they also fell short on this tier list due to the rigidity and also the factor of being an easy to play deck, very predictable, very telegraphic. So Voices Voice as a deck is really powerful. But when we consider a lot of things in the metagame right now, the complex paradigms of meta and the dynamics of other decks that are tapping here, Voices Voice cannot handle them all at once. I think Voices Voice is a really solid deck, but it lags behind when the format is getting more faster, getting more blistering, and other decks just got so much raw power and explosive gas nature that they can overwhelm the Voices Voice board. But on the brighter side, they are far from the ban list, so they could survive the December ban list, and they're probably going to stay here on C tier and probably even go higher when the format is more favorable for them. And on the January format, of course, they will be more even higher on the B tier or probably low A tier when the Ryzel, Malice, and Snake Eyes would get addressed. But right now, they're sitting pretty good on the C tier, and I believe that's the perfect spot for the Voices Voice right now, and also for the Voices Voice players, so that people won't really target tech cards or any crazy bestial stuff on the Voices voice right now. And next would be Labyrinth. I believe this deck could be even higher, but I just preferred to put it on C tier because even though this deck is really performing on local events and previous tournaments, I think the placements of the Labyrinth is not that high enough to be marginalized as a high tier deck right now. I think Labyrinth as a deck is very complex. It is one of the sole remaining trap decks that are viable in the format right now, apart from Runic, of course, because of the floodgates. But when we talk about raw trap cards, interactive trap cards, and high impact trap cards, it all falls under the Labyrinth. And it is a very complex deck to be played, especially the format is ever changing. The format is wide open for a lot of decks. Like 3, 4 weeks ago, Goblin Biker is not a thing, and Crystron isn't even here. But now they are here, so the variants of trap cards of Labyrinth will be able to make adjustments for those decks, and it is very hard to answer all of these decks right now in a very wide open format. You cannot tech in against all of these at once. So that's where the Labyrinth problem comes from, when the pilot or the player of Labyrinth doesn't really make the best trap lineup on their arsenal. And also, some decks are just too fast for Labyrinth right now. Things like Malice, for example, no, or Snake Eyes. I think those decks are really high tempo, and Labyrinth can lag behind on those. That's why I only categorize them on C tier, but I do believe they could be even higher. And next would be B. Moving on towards the B tier, we have the very popular and very intricate deck right now, the Goblin Bikers, or I believe the Goblin Riders. So this deck is just here just because of the S tier deck, the Ryzil. Ryzil have been getting crazy amounts of numbers and ratios on the previous Road of the King reports. And it is S tier for a reason. It is the best deck for a reason, no? So when you look at that retrospect, when you just want to answer what the people are playing right now, of course, Ryzil. So you would just go and opt to Goblin Bikers because it inherently answers the best deck. And you have a lot of solid matchup on the locals if the opponents are playing Ryzil, of course, and also you're able to make things hard for Ryzil because you're able to detach materials for the Ryzil. They will be getting struggling with the plethora of interruptions from hand interruptions of Goblin Bikers. And as a deck, they're still looking incomplete in a sense that they don't really fancy too much utility and resiliency on the deck. But when we look at the grander scale of things, that you're able to answer the best deck and also still be able to put a decent showing around most of the decks here in the tier list, I think you have a very powerful B tier deck in the form of Goblin Bikers. Next would be Runic. I think Runic, it doesn't really uh, fell off or fall off in the meta because it is the safest deck to play. You could never go wrong playing Runic. That's the biggest uptake or upside of this deck because this is a floodgate deck, and on game 1 you look very powerful. Most people doesn't even have Cosmic Cyclone right now. They have ditched their Cosmic Cyclone to play something like Talent or the Barrier, no, for example. So a lot of cards doesn't do anything against you. And if you just want to get wins after wins and ramp up victories on your tournaments or locals, I think Runic is the perfect deck for you. And I believe that Runic will be able to be go even higher if people will disrespect the deck, if they don't really side in the board breakers, the evenlys, the cosmics, no. If they be if they are going to be more centralized on answering the Ryzil, the Malice, and the likes of Blue Eyes or Snake Eyes, you would definitely getting free wins out of everything against this metagame because there's not many decks and also cards that can stop you, to be honest. Ghost Ogre is a thing, but I believe Runic can be more assertive on playing around those cards and other hand traps as well. So, on top of that, you have floodgates to stop the opponent, and you have like 9 draw power on your deck. So you have an immense consistency, and other decks doesn't have really outs for you if they don't prepare their sideboard against you. So yeah, it is a testimony of a very functional deck right now. But sadly, it is frowned upon by many people because of the nature of the stun deck, no? But other than that, this is still a very solid deck to play, and it will definitely give you wins. Next would be Blue Eyes. So I believe the Blue Eyes numbers are now in Jeopardy because it used to be a high A tier or even on par with Malice on some weeks. It used to be even the second best deck on my books on 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, I believe. I think Blue Eyes is that really good in my perspective, but things have changed and people have been pivoting towards the better decks like Ryzil, and they're now more inclined on playing Malice and even Mementotlan. So Blue Eyes took a nudge on their numbers, and they have been getting fewer and fewer numbers each week that passes by, I believe. They have been getting power creep in a sense of the number dynamics of the decks, but it doesn't take anything away from Blue Eyes, I think. I think Blue Eyes is still a very competent deck and very powerful, can be able to make one of the most obnoxious boards right now in the meta, and also people can play Blue Eyes whenever and wherever they like because the structure deck is very cheap, and the only gatekeeping cards for this deck would be the Cypher and the Crimson Dragon that are expensive right now. But other than that, it is still very accessible, and I think there's a bunch of Blue Eyes and old generation enthusiasts that are picking up the deck and still playing right now. Even Malice and Ryzil just looks objectively better. I think Blue Eyes is a really phenomenal deck right now. And next would be Mementotlan. I am not really a fan of Mementotlan. If you are an avid follower on my channel, you would know that I always testify and detest this deck because of the inconsistency that it offers. Even though if we consider the ceiling and overall ceiling of this metagame, I think Mementotlan is one of the most highest ceiling decks out there. But the inconsistency of this deck is really unparalleled. That's why you see some weeks they even rank on A tier or even the second best deck, no, on some weeks, and some weeks they just look on C or D, for example, no. So they are very unstable on their form in the meta, and I don't think it's a good trait of a deck because it shows that you're inconsistent and you cannot really cement your place on the top of the tier list. So I think people would be more invested on looking for a more consistent deck and more resilient, something like Ryzil, for example, or Runic. So I think Mementotlan is a really powerful deck. It is probably one of the most explosive decks to play in the meta, and I think people are just under the impression that uh, they would even play more Malice or Ryzil just because that Mementotlan doesn't top on a regular basis on tier list in Japan, Korea, China, for example, no. They're really inclined on playing around the numbers and also playing on what's good on those tier lists like this, for example, no. They would just rely on the data that it have shown. But for me, if you don't really look at those numbers and also results or graphs, I think Mementotlan is just so good right now when you don't really consider those things. And I myself doesn't have a good record against Mementotlan on my testings and also my competitive game. I think I have lost the most against Mementotlan out of all of the decks here in this tier list. It just shows that Mementotlan is a really powerful deck, and we cannot really define them on just the results of graphs or tier list each week. So yeah, if you just want to give the deck a chance, I think you would know what I am saying about. And next would be on the A tier, we do have Snake Eyes White Forest Azumina. This is the hottest deck right now. in the OCG. It is probably one of the most hyped decks, and people are investing on the builds, and they are mix and matching things for the deck. They are innovating the deck into a really formidable deck that will be able to make Snake Eyes on the top once again. Imagine that Snake Eyes have been around since 2023, last year May or June, July, I believe, post Agov. So I think the deck is here for already a year, no, and a half. Imagine that 1 year and 6 months already have flew by, and it is still one of the top decks. It just explains how busted the Snake Eyes is and the whole lore of Azamina, White Woods, White Forest, and such of Sinful Spoils. Because no matter what you do against the deck, R1 Poplar, R1 Bonfire, and R1 Ash, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter. They just get more new support after support, and yeah, they just really evolve. Yeah, I think that's the crazy part about this deck, because no matter what you do, it will evolve. It is like the modern tier laments. Yeah, people will not stop on playing that regarded best deck for a long time in retrospect, because they will do everything what it takes to make the Snake Eyes be the best in this meta game. But I don't think it will happen in this Suda format. I think it could be even overtake the Malice, but I don't see it really overtaking the Ryzel on this tier list. Ryzel is just too good right now. And yeah, moving on towards the 8 tier, we have Malice. So I really feel bad for Malice because they've been overshadowed by Ryzel by a mile, because they never people never consider them as the best deck on this meta game, just because Ryzel shows a lot of results, and the numbers tells you that Ryzel is the best from the graphs of the Road of the King and other metagame reports, no? So I think Malice is just under the impression of people are taking things more into the Ryzel uh, path, no? So the Malice will definitely show grit and results if people will really just believe on the deck and just play them, because the deck has immense draw power, immense consistency, and immense resiliency, and the board of Malice and the ceiling of the deck is even higher than Ryzel. It just Ryzel are more resilient and consistent, but when we take things into a larger scale of things, when we consider that Maxi is at R2 right now, and you don't get hit by Fuhalos or something Mulcharmy cards on your turn, no, you would be very successful. The only problem that I foresee are people are more conservative, especially in Japan. They are more conservative, and they would opt to play the more safest option. And that's the problem of Malice right now. People are not really brave enough to play the Malice, and they're not really inclined on risking their chances of getting blown out by Maxino or Fualos on this deck. So yeah, there's also Lancea to be considered at that can skip the turn of Malice. So yeah, other than those factors, I think Malice could be challenging the S tier of Ryzel if people will believe more into the deck, and people will be more ballsy, no? I think you're getting what I'm saying, because I think you just need guts to play Malice right now. It can be even better than Ryzel when you can be able to bring out the best of the explosive nature of Malice. Moving on towards the S tier, Ryzel, of course, there's no other answer for S tier. It would be none other than Ryzel. Ryzel as a deck is a deck that looks like a modern Sword Soul and a modern Zodiac all at once. Bunch of starters, one card combos, and you have like 23, 24 rooms for non-engines and staples in the deck, no? So you have a bunch of hand traps, tech cards, talent, even solemns, judgment, strike, and things like droplet, no? It makes you more versatile in a sense that you could make the deck fit into your gameplay, your intent, your environment, and also the things that the small details that you could adjust with Ryzel in order to outwit all of these decks here in the tier list. And I do believe that Ryzel as a deck is one of the best designed archetypes in late 2024. I think it really feels very powerful, but it is not overly unfair like the Snake Eyes or the previous tier lemons or even Kashtira Sprite. It doesn't look that oppressive, that humongous monstrous deck that are able to overwhelm everyone. I think Ryzel is just the best in terms of every aspect that you can think of right now, aside from explosiveness and overall gas, and probably going second, no. But other than that, Ryzel is just S tier on every department that you could ever think of, and it just screams the best deck on all angles. When you want to consider all of those competitive attributes, you're going to be inclined on playing Ryzel because it has the best to offer right now. So yeah, that sums up our OCG Metagame tier list post Suda and post YCSJ Osaka 2024. If you found this video informative and helpful, please consider subscribing into my YouTube channel. It definitely motivates me a lot to keep providing this content for you guys. So once again, thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.